Ms. Vice President, ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, I wish to extend my warmest thanks to you for having entrusted me with this important mandate. And I hope that you will allow me the space to help build bridges for the construction of an epic of greater collaboration within the Human Rights Council to promote international solidarity and reduce polarizing attitudes that impede effective response to human rights protection issues. I am honored to present my first report to you addressing the participation of civil society organizations seeking to express international solidarity through transnational, international, and regional networks. Now, we just celebrated the 75th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And it's notable that Article 1 is most known for the first sentence, which I went to the bookstore and we have a t-shirt. But this t-shirt is incomplete. The t-shirt shows Article 1 as only having the first sentence. The first sentence is all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. And this is a liberal articulation of an entitlement which we hold very dear. But it strikes us as particularly compelling, given that we actually face the highest levels of inequality around the world at present. So it may be suggested that we have reached a time in which we need to pay heed to the second sentence in Article 1. It sets forth a corollary duty of solidarity. It says that human beings are endowed with reason and conscience and should act towards one another in a spirit of brotherhood. Hence, freedom and equality are contingent on all of us contributing to the realization of the right to have rights. The revised draft Declaration on Human Rights and International Solidarity sets forth a definition of inclusion. The right to international solidarity is a right of individuals and peoples to participate meaningfully in, contribute to, and enjoy a social and international order in which all human rights and fundamental freedoms can be realized. And I believe that this international order should be interpreted as one which respects planetary boundaries as an international solidarity approach to human rights would recognize its intrinsic relation to protection of the environment. Now, international solidarity is what we would call a meta right or an enabling right that is tied to freedom of expression and association, as well as the rights to equality and non-discrimination. Moreover, Article 6 recognizes international solidarity as the duty of states, international organizations, and companies to respect, protect, and fulfill international solidarity. I believe that civil society organizations are the engine of international solidarity, and they merit increased protection and support. I was really inspired to receive input from civil society organizations from all over the world who engage in network solidarity across borders. For example, I was moved by the spirit of the Irish faith groups helping women in Argentina, and the eloquence of the LGBT groups seeking equality rights in different countries, and the courage of the mothers to reveal the plight of their children who have been denied entry visas into countries, excluding them from the right to pursue in university education or employment due to their parents' solidarity, self-determination activities. Civil society actions include intersectoral solidarity approaches, and what these do is that they combine issues such as protection of the environment, access to fair housing, and women's rights. And these international solidarity coalitions challenge injustice, and they call for transformative changes within political and economic structures, seeking to empower the agency of vulnerable individuals and groups. I am truly humbled by their resilience in the face of a growing repression and the shrinking of the civic space, as confirmed by Civicus. The expansion of the use of censorship, disinformation, harassment, blacklisting, doxing, deportation, denial of entry or exit visas, defunding, red tagging, criminal prosecution, including as foreign agents, is significant. Other tactics intended to chill the expression of international solidarity include denial of access to education, surveillance, asset freezing, defunding, and overly broad restrictive registration and reporting of civil society organizations, as well as the blocking of access to digital platforms to block the exchange of international solidarity ideas under the guise of security. All of these counter-solidarity measures are actually counterproductive because they increase the risk of resort to expression through violence. Solidarity actors are very committed to emancipating vulnerable groups, and they will also seek expression. Hence, it's better to provide them with safe, legitimate channels. Moreover, I reiterate the negative trend that states are increasingly applying these measures against the families and the friends of solidarity activists, and this impacts, in particular, women and children's rights as well. I call for a full review of counterterrorism and counter-extremism legislation affecting international solidarity actors and their families in order to identify overly broad application in breach of norms of necessity, proportionality, non-discrimination, and legality. I recommend that the UN create a digital international solidarity platform to help end the digital divide and provide a safe space for civil society to exchange international solidarity ideas. And this may also help address the problem of visa restrictions and cost of travel for civil society groups seeking to participate in UN meetings. I will now address the role of corporations in relation to international solidarity. One problem is that local elites sometimes partner with transnational extricative companies to defeat intersectoral, what we call infrastructure of care, solidarity movements, and these are usually led by indigenous, environmental, and women activists who are seeking to protect land, water, and ecological areas, and to promote sustainable agriculture and fishing. I recommend that international corporations create transparent mechanisms of presentation and response to solidarity claims by indigenous people, environmental activists, trade unions, and other actors pursuant to due diligence obligations to respect human rights as confirmed within the revised draft declaration on international solidarity in Article 6. We are currently confronting negative global trends of polarization, inequality, and fragmentation, both within and between states. And one marker of this is the increase of unitary solidarity groups that are defined by their exclusion and discrimination of others. They pursue national or nativist or intra-group identity, and this is linked to xenophobic, racist, or sexist orientations and cannot be considered pro-homine international solidarity. These negative trends impede dialogue, cooperation, and peaceful dispute resolution. One example is the repression of self-determination-oriented solidarity actions being labeled as separatist and subject to penalization. Another example is the criminalization of humanitarian actors seeking to rescue refugees and migrants at sea or crossing precarious land borders. A third example is the preemptive cancellation of solidarity student marches calling for peace in Gaza. and the concurrent arrest, suspension, expulsion, and firing of students. I recommend that states support solidarity education initiatives, including digital solidarity programs to teach cooperation, inclusion, and mutual respect for diversity, as well as empathy and dialogue pursuant to equality and non-discrimination in culturally diverse societies, as well as transitional societies. There is an increased need to provide solidarity scholarships and visas for vulnerable students to study abroad. And moreover, there's an urgent need to stop the delay and denial of graduation of these university students who have engaged in solidarity demonstrations, and to provide legal aid to respond to the retaliation against them. I want to point out that these are authoritarian measures that are being pursued in democratic countries, and are measures that we can affect in a transcendental way their life's project to have personal and professional aspirations. Now, the High Commissioner for Human Rights has stated that peace is the mother of all human rights. And I suggest that we need to increase our support for internal and international solidarity-oriented peace-building initiatives that emancipate civil society in a way that would be inclusive of fair participation by minorities, indigenous people, women, youth, and displaced communities. I believe that states should choose to pursue best practices of international solidarity policies, which would include showing clemency to opposing voices within our societies, extending an olive branch to states across the regional groups, and creating bridging mechanisms for improved communication and dialogue to reduce exclusion, inequity, and discrimination. It is notable that the Secretary General, in his report on our common agenda, identified solidarity as the foundation for a future-oriented multilateralism. I believe that this is the narrative of inclusion and recognition of civil society that may serve to promote social cohesion and sustainable development while combating inequality, polarization, and fragmentation. International solidarity should be mainstreamed within the UN Office for Human Rights, the Summit of the Future, and there should be concrete follow-up of the recommendations within this report. I encourage states to expand solidarity measures to diminish inequality and marginalization internally and internationally, and continue to share the policies in the Universal Periodic Review. The suppression of the nonviolent expression of international solidarity will only foment violence and destabilize nations. States need to create new communication channels in order to facilitate peaceful dispute resolution. Social solidarity governmental institutions should protect rather than disempower civil society organizations. I call upon states to form a group of friends to adopt the revised draft declaration on human rights and international solidarity so we can have a normative foundation to build constructive international solidarity projects within the Human Rights Council and the General Assembly, as well as within regional organizations, and end the trend of polarization. I thank you again for your support, and in particular, I want to thank the missions of Algeria, Azerbaijan, Ecuador, Guyana, Mexico, and Mozambique for contributing to the report. I appreciate the civil society groups and the academics who submitted input to the report and participated in the outline consultation. I give special thanks to Denmark for inviting me for my first country visit to Denmark and Greenland, and I look forward to delivering my report next June. And I very much look forward to increased collaboration opportunities with new partners in the UN Human Rights Council, and I'm happy to answer your questions. Thank you.